House Counselor Kellyanne Conway under fire for promoting Ivanka Trump's clothing line in an interview on Fox News. Here's what actually happened.
Go buy Ivanka's stuff is what I would tell you. I hate shopping. I'm gonna go get some on myself today. It's a wonderful line. I own some of it. I'm gonna give a free commercial here. Go buy it today, everybody. You can find it online.
She says she was joking, but now a bipartisan congressional committee says they don't think it was funny. They want her investigated for violating ethics regulations. Is there any there? Let's debate this. President of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, and Executive Director of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, Noah Bookbinder. I want to talk to you guys about the overall ethical and conflicts of interest picture here, but let's get to the news of the day. I'll start with you, Noah Bookbinder. You put in a complaint on this. Make the case for why what Kellyanne did is actionable as an ethics violation and not just a joke.
Sure. Well, the ethics rules are really clear that if you're a government official, you cannot use your official position to plug a private business interest. That's exactly what Kellyanne Conway did. It's hard to imagine a clearer instance of that. That's why you had the bipartisan leadership of the House Oversight Committee calling for action here. And moreover, it comes against the backdrop of a pattern of this administration and this president using the White House to plug the president's family's business interests, his supporters' business interests, and he's continuing to hold ownership in his companies. So we have to wonder if he's gonna benefit from a lot of things that he does.
All right, Tom Fitton, counter argument to you. We will discuss the larger context of what Bookbinder is arguing there, but is it fair to apply it to this instance? Kellyanne had a smile on her face. She has said multiple times she didn't mean it as a business solicitation. It is brought up as fact. Well, she did apologize. She didn't apologize for what she said. She apologized for drawing attention to herself. The president did not see this as an issue. He does not like the word counseled being used. They don't think she did anything wrong. Your say?
Well, I don't think she did anything wrong in the moral sense of the word. She did something wrong in terms of violating the regulation that applies to using your public office to promote a product.
Even if you're joking about it? What if your intent isn't to promote, it's to joke about promoting?
Right, and it may be a violation, and I think the appropriate response is the consequence that's been reported is that someone in the White House reminded her of the rules, maybe the president did. And I hope it's a signal to the White House to generally remind folks, especially those talking to the public, that when defending the president's family from attacks, that they don't take it as an opportunity in their honor and support of the president to promote specific products in the company.
Right.
I think they can walk the line. Kelly stepped over it. Listen, if this is the biggest ethics problem out of the Trump White House, that's right. Not a big deal.
Right, and I think the larger point is it isn't. Back to you, Noah Bookbinder, to your larger point. You don't like what's happening with Kellyanne in the specific, but you like it even less in the general because you see this as a pattern of behavior and kind of an outward ignoring of the standards of ethics when it comes to conflicts of interest. And to be clear, we don't really have any proof at this point that the president has done anything in any real way to separate himself from his business interests. Is that true or false?
That is true. I mean, we saw his sons, who are now apparently running his businesses, were up on stage at the announcement of the Supreme Court nominee. But that doesn't even really matter because regardless of who's running the businesses day to day, Donald Trump still owns the businesses. He still benefits from them. He knows what their interests are. He knows what kind of tax policies and regulatory policies and foreign policies are going to help his businesses. And we don't have any indication that that's not motivating him on a day-to-day basis. And the kind of cavalier mixing of government interests and private business interests that Kellyanne Conway's comments seem to indicate certainly doesn't give us any confidence.
Back to you, Tom Fitton. You can't get into the man's head, and that's not going to be a productive place to be in making this case legally, even politically, but you can look at the facts. Well, he created a trust, so that's what people usually do.
Hold on a second. Yeah. The facts are the conflict of interest laws don't apply to the president. He's not required to do anything that is being suggested here. He's taking steps announced by his lawyer, And there should be more transparency about perhaps what those steps are to disengage from the business. But he's not required to destroy his business to become president of the United States.
Right.
And there's no way he could engage in a $1 billion fire sale that wouldn't raise additional ethics questions.
Right. No,
and so this is going to be
point.
a burden for him during his White House stay. But let's be clear. The law doesn't require him to do this, and the American people knew what they were getting when they put him in office. And he was hired in part because of his success in the business.
Some assumptions there to unpack real quickly.
His family business is not required by law. So let's not pretend there are these rules that he has to follow.
But you are pretending.
That are being violated.
But you are pretending. Because while you are right that there is no law, you are pretending that there is no other standard. And we both know that that is absurd on its face. There are ethical considerations
Chris,
about what business you put first.
You seem to know what you think you know. What's absurd on its face is a demand that the president destroy a $1 billion business.
No, who's asking him to do that?
Lord knows how, in order to be president of the United States.
Who's asking him to do that?
And that will solve all the ethics concerns.
What's really crucial is that the president be making his decisions based on what's in the interest of the American people, not based on what's in the interest of his businesses. He has done less than nothing to assure us that that is the larger
point.
That's right, and there's a check in place for that. It's called the ballot box and
that's not
impeachment if he really violates the rules of common sense in that regard.
All right, so
short of that, we're anywhere near that, despite the screaming about it.
All right, so let's take a look at this, though, Tom, because it's not a combative principle. I'm saying, of course, it's not about the law. But you know that's not the only standard. And obviously the president knows that, which is why he did exactly what you're suggesting. He took steps to remove the projection of obvious conflict, which he has. But those moves, when you look at them, fall on their face. The trust, he's the sole beneficiary, it's revocable. All those files filled with documents that he says he signed, we don't have proof yet that any of them were filed in the states where they need to be to show change of control. And then you have what Bookbinder is discussing, which is this outward and consistent combination of what is good for Donald Trump and what is good for the country. It's not just about the law, and you know that, Tom. It
is about the law. And
not just about the law.
It is about the law.
But not just about the law.
Okay, I'm going to finish my answer. He has taken steps to mitigate the involvement of the business in the White House.
How do you know that?
Because the lawyers have stated it as such, and we're going to get that through the typical disclosures over time. And I would agree that anything the president can do to reassure those who are concerned that the private interest takes precedent over the public interest in the Trump White House would be appropriate. I'm not against more transparency.
What disclosures are you assuming we'll get to see?
I would encourage some disclosures describing generally in a way that doesn't destroy his business or provide opportunities for those who want to destroy the presidency.
How about his taxes?
I don't think he necessarily has to release all of his taxes.
Has to or should?
I don't know if he should either.
Why?
Because the taxes are a roadmap to his entire company, and it's not just like someone's normal tax return. It's a massive document, and it would essentially, in many ways, upend the ability for the company to function in theory.
Noah Bookbinder.
And so I think there's a real concern there. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be smart politically or under transparency, which we advocate, it wouldn't be the best move. But it's not the end of the world that it hasn't happened. There's nothing like the situation we have with the president coming into the Oval Office. Under the standards that are being thrown around here, George Washington wouldn't be president. I mean, he had similar business interests. He was about as wealthy as Trump was, relatively speaking.
That's not even
all these ethics rules don't apply to the president.
It's not even close to an analogy. Nobody's arguing the law.
It's a political fight, Chris.
Nobody's arguing the law. I've never said that it is about the law.
You're not satisfied politically about what he's done. And
I think that there are obvious questions. You see it reflected in polls all the time. Noah Bookbinder.
I agree. It's a political fight.
But nobody's saying it isn't. I'm saying you're ignoring. You're ignoring the realities of the politics.
Hold on one second, Tom. Ethics we're talking about, it's politics.
Hold on one second. Well, I think that there's a melding, or at least there should be, and they've become divorced, and that's probably a problem. Noah Bookbinder, what I'm asking you is, Tom's assertion is that the taxes don't really matter because if you showed them to people, you might destroy his business. I can't find a tax attorney whom I respect to echo that sentiment. What do you make of it?
Chris, have you asked?
Well, first of all,
a tax attorney about
yes,
that?
I keep saying, why? Hold on a second, Noah. Hold on a second. I've asked half a dozen. Why can't he show them under audit? They gave me their question. Why can't I know if he's under audit?
Question.
They gave me their answer.
Question.
I said, why can't he show me the taxes? What could be in there that would be so destructive to him? They say, well, I'd have to see the taxes, but in general, I would be worried about you learning too little from taxes. I don't get why the president won't show them because they're not as elucidating as you people are assuming they are. That's what tax experts say to your answer. Now, Noah, what do you think?
So I think that first of all, he's the president. We need to know what his interests are and what may be motivating him. His taxes are going to shed some light on that. There's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have them. Richard Nixon gave up his tax returns when he was under audit, and if that standard isn't one that this president can meet, that's a little bit troubling. I also do want to say that the law is actually a factor here because the Constitution says that he can't be taking payments from foreign governments.
The emoluments clause you're talking about. I'm saying specific ethics laws. Tom is right about that. You make a correct general point as well. But Noah, we got to leave it there for time. This has been a good discussion with both sides. Noah, bookbinder, I appreciate it. Tom Fitton,
thank you
as well. You're both always welcome to make the case here on New Day. Thank you, fellas.
Glad to be here.
All right. We're following a lot of news. Let's get right to it.